You know, what's going on YouTube? Nathan back with another video presentation. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Weekends just go by fast. Before we get into the video, there's a few things that need to be set up front. I have produced two videos of two topics that I purposely sat back and didn't make a video on. I purposely held back this video and the MLB The Show 10th Inning Program video to record those two subjects. Because again, I said in that one video, I purposely sat back and I wanted to see responses. Nothing. Not a word. Not a peep. Utter crickets. This video, I'm not going to keep y'all long. Talking about the NFL, some things that are a bit appalling, that are a bit concerning, and I just have some issues, and I feel like it needs to be addressed. And no one really, and we all know that the times that we're in, and you know, you have to make what's best. You have to work on the fly, be flexible, all that stuff that they, were told. I'm surprised. After, this is now week 10, I am surprised of the amount of injuries that I have seen this year, as opposed to, I want to go back the last 5 seasons. It's utter disgusting. And it really shows you how important that a preseason was needed, how these guys were limited with training camp. And it just shows the level of physicality of football. I mean, I think I have seen more torn ACLs and dislocated ankles more this season than any season as a football fan that I've watched the game of football as a football fan. So that's my first issue, is the injuries. The second issue that I have is the amount of mediocrity. The NFC East has to be one of the most disappointing divisions in all of football. I mean, you can arguably compare them to the American League East of baseball. Because up until last year and the year before, the most two dominant teams of the AL East were the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. When you look at the NFC East for the NFL, you have the Giants, who got their first win, the Cowboys, who blew that game, even though I think the refs helped them out helped Pittsburgh escape Dallas with a W. You have the Eagles, who are just injury prone, and I think it's beyond ridiculous how Carson Wentz is getting all this flack, particularly from one sports journalist. I'm not going to mention his name, but y'all might know who I'm talking about. Expects Carson Wentz to be this Superman. He can carry the team by himself, but fails to realize, look at the injuries. And then you have the Washington football team. This was the year that the name Redskin was removed. And I made about an hour video of, regardless of that team, of them, whatever the next team name is going to be, what's that fan base going to look like? So you have not only that, you have the sweepstakes for Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has come out and has said he doesn't want to play for the Jets. You have coaches that need to be fired. You're seeing some teams struggle, but for the most part, I can say it's weird watching football this year. No preseason, no fans there. These guys are virtually working on the fly. But I admire some of these games that I've seen. Even though tonight, as I'm recording this video, I was not expecting Tom Brady and the Buccaneers to get their butt whooped by Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. I expected that to be a competitive game, but that was probably the most eyesore to watch this season. Number 3. NFL and COVID. The NFL does have, let's just get it out there. The NFL has no bubble system. They don't. And I can't remember who Clemson played Saturday. I can't remember. And I should have said this in the response in the part 7 video towards Trevor Bauer in his response into Justin Turner and why, and in the aftermath of him testing positive with the Dodgers with the World Series, him running on the field, now tested positive for COVID, and pointing the finger at Major League Baseball. Trevor Lawrence, not trying to be disrespectful, I'm not thinking Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence tested positive for COVID-19. And was on that college, and was on that football field, had his mask off. Now, I don't know who gave the okay for that, for him to even be there. Because if you ask me, he should not have been there with the team, period. He should have been either home or somewhere isolated. Again, people, it's not hard to connect these dots. I'm looking at the NFL. I'm looking at right now over 100-something cases. Just recently, the Baltimore Ravens had 7 players. Marlon Humphrey tested positive, and multiple players had to isolate because of them being around him. See, here's the problem that I have with the NFL. And again, consider this consider this a part 9. Because obviously, Trevor Bauer and other Major League Baseball players, and also to athletes who really aren't understanding what's really happening around us. Some, not all. Let me ask the players, NFL players, a question. Because, number one, I don't know what these guys are doing outside the training facilities or outside the states. I don't know what they do. But let me ask the players this. Because here's my question. You've had multiple players in the beginning of the season sit out because they're uncomfortable of what's happening around them. Some health, some personal reasons. Now, don't you think as a player, as a coalition of players, you guys would sit down and try to hammer out some type of bubble system? Wouldn't you not want to do that to protect not only yourself, but your teammates, your coaching staff, even your families? You don't think that makes sense? You don't think that's the right thing to do? It's just a thought. When I look at the NFL, I was nervous because I remember there was the Saints versus the Steelers, excuse me, versus the Titans. I believe it was week 4. week 5. That game got canceled because multiple players from the Titans tested positive. I believe the Steelers, I think, have to play the next now 7 weeks. No rest. So, Roger Goodell, NFL Players Association, owners, again, I want y'all to understand how these dots need to be connected, because there's multiple parties involved here. What is the issue of creating a bubble? Look at the NBA. Chris Paul, Michelle Roberts, NBA did a fantastic job with that. Even though you had some people that took advantage of that and, did what they wanted to do, with this leaving and coming as they may go. The WNBA, you had some players that were uncomfortable from the beginning, went and then left, and then came back. Some didn't come back. Major League Baseball, they didn't want a bubble. They didn't want a bubble. Some of them decided to sit out. The NFL, a good majority, I say out of all 32 teams, the New England Patriots, I believe, had the most players to sit out. And when you look at the cases of COVID that is occurring currently in the NFL, you have to sit back and you have to ask yourself, why wasn't this talked about before the season started? But see, nobody wants to talk about that. Everyone wants to see football. I want to see football, but you know what I want to see? I want to see the safety and health of the players and the coaching staff, the referees. I want to see that more. But again, obviously, because of what's happening around us in the timeline to get the NFL started, would have sacrificed no preseason. It was only really supposed to be 2 preseason games per team. No preseason. Training camp starting late. COVID. Injury bugs. You would think this arguably has to be one of the most eyesore seasons of NFL football to watch. Because you're just seeing guys go down with injuries. And I'm not saying, like, example, Dak Prescott. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the amount of injuries that have occurred already. Look at the COVID list for each team. Don't take my word for it. Look for yourself. So again, we have to ask ourselves, what is the plan for next season? And if you ask me, the clock's ticking. Now, obviously also too, coaches, and I agree from the standpoint that, okay, you're not going to follow right here by the rules, particularly when it comes to the coaches. Oakland Raiders, I believe, have had the most trouble with understanding that you need to wear masks, particularly the coaches, and lost a draft pick. I think that's fair. Coaches, players, particularly coaches, if they're not going to wear the mask, fine them. If it continues to happen again, okay, you lose a draft pick. There needs to be some type of consequences for you to understand, like, hey, listen, just just adhere by the rules. Just adhere by that. Think about not only your health, but the person next to you, left or right, of their health as well. These are definitely scary times that we're living in right now. Let me not use that word. These are times where we really have to really be aware and cognizant of what we're doing, and not only for our health but for those around us. And when I'm looking at the NFL, I'm saying, "Wow, you've gotten far, quite far. You've gotten this far, and I'm happy about that." But I would have liked to have seen some type of initiative on the part of not only the players but the owners, players association, to have some type of system in place. But no, we have to start playing football, and I get it. I understand. Money, make a profit. We got, I want to say like 7 weeks left, 7 or 8 weeks left of football. I know recently Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford just came off the COVID list. Again, man, these if you're the Players Association, if you're the owners, you're Roger Goodell, you're taking these notes, and you have to sit down as a collective group, propose an agenda, not just them, the players too, of what we all need to do for next season. And for these guys that have gone down with injuries, I'm saying the injury bug this year has is real. My prayers go to each and every one of y'all. I'm not going to hold y'all. I just wanted to get the video out, but I just wanted to make this video. I'm going to consider this another part to the now Justin Turner fiasco, and particularly again responsibility and accountability. Now, I'm not sitting here again. I don't know what these guys are doing outside of that stadium, outside that training camp facility. I don't know what they're doing. All I'm saying is think about there just has to be some type of system in place. There just has to be. Is to see the amount of cases for each team, and for some of these teams where you really depend on some of these guys, like Cam Newton in New England, for example, Matthew Stafford, who's your starting quarterback for the Lions, Baker Mayfield, who tested positive for Cleveland. I'm just trying to get y'all to understand, look at it from my perspective. There has to be some type of system in place, not just for football, basketball. Well, NBA already has their system. Baseball, hockey, for the most part. I'm not even aware if hockey had a system or not. But I'm gonna get on up out of here. Hope y'all had a great weekend. Hope everyone has a great start off to their week. With that being said, at the end of the day, people, stay safe. I'm out. Peace.